I have a young friend and he loves to build anything out of Lego. Now, I also love to build things, to make things. And it doesn't matter whether it's a Lego toy or whether it's a house. What you need is always a plan, a set of instructions. And if you don't go by the instructions, if you don't go by the plan, well, you usually find you make mistakes. And at some point, you have to go back to the plan to see where you've got it all wrong. You see, it always pays to work to the plan. Now, would you be surprised if I told you that God is working to a plan? That God has got a plan for your life? But I want you to remember that God's plan begins whenever you put your trust in His Son, the Lord Jesus. Whenever you do that and give your life to Him, then God can begin to work out His plan in your life. This was something that our young friend Josh McDowell was going to have to learn. He was going to have to learn that God is working to a plan and that sometimes it's not always our own plans. Sometimes God's plan is different, but remember, God's plan is always better. Josh McDowell had become a Christian. He had made up his mind before he became a Christian that he wanted to disprove Christianity, to say it was false, that it was all just fairy tales. But as he studied the Bible, as he listened and watched Christians, he realized for himself that the Lord Jesus loved him, that God was real, and that God could forgive him and make him part of God's family. And Josh McDowell put his trust in the Lord Jesus. And now he wanted to tell people. He had told his father, and he had told many others. But God now was going to step in and things were going to change. Now, I'm not saying that God caused this, but God can use even the bad things in our lives for good. There was one day, and Josh was out in his car, and there's a thing called a level crossing. That's where a train track crosses the road. And when the lights and the signals show the train's coming, you must stop. So that's what Josh did. He stopped at the level crossing, and the train was going past. And all of a sudden, there was a noise of screech and a noise of tires from behind. And what had happened was a drunk driver had come flying down the road just behind Josh and hadn't stopped in time and crashed full head on into the back of Josh's car. Now, Josh was badly injured, but he was very fortunate. Whenever he got to hospital, the doctor said to him, says, in an accident like that, you are very fortunate not to have broken your neck. You could have been paralyzed. Now, Josh was very, very sore. He had sore neck and sore arms, sore head. He knew he had been in this horrible accident, but he hadn't broken his neck and he was okay. But the doctor did say, you can't stay at campus. You can't stay at college. You're going to have to go home and rest. Now, the last thing that Josh wanted to do was to go home because who was at home? His father. And remember, his father was the town drunk. Josh had no good memories of his father as he grew up. He can't remember times whenever his father played with him or took him fishing or did any nice things with him. He just always remembered his dad as drinking too much and causing bother. But now he had to go home. But when Josh got home, Josh was very surprised because his father had begun to change. He wasn't drinking just quite as much. He was trying to stop, but he couldn't. He was still drinking a bit, but he wanted to change. And he said himself that since Josh had told him that he had become a Christian, that Will, his father, had decided, I need to become a better man. I need to change. But he was trying to do it in his own strength. He did look after Josh. He made the food. He made sure Josh was comfortable. And slowly but surely, over the weeks, Josh did get better. But there was one day, and Will came to his son Josh, and he said, you're different. I feel that you don't hate me as much as you used to. Josh looked at his father, and he said, Father, I don't hate you. In fact, I want to say to you, thank you so much for looking after me so well. And in fact, I want to tell you, I love you. Will couldn't believe what he was hearing. He had never ever thought that he'd hear his son say those words. Will looked at Josh and he said, if your Jesus can soften your heart towards me whenever I have been so bad to you over all these years, well then I believe that your Jesus can help me with my problems and in my life as well. And right there and then, Will McDowell put his trust in the Lord Jesus and asked the Lord Jesus into his life as well. Look, God was working to a plan. Now, that accident was a horrible thing, but here was God working it out for good. God was working out his plan in Josh and Will's life. And now Will had changed. Now Will wanted other people to hear about the Lord Jesus as well. He stopped drinking and he started to go around the town, and everybody in the town had recognized him and knew him as the town drunk. But now Will went round and told them that he'd become a Christian and that he wasn't going to drink anymore. What a change in his life. God can work miracles whenever you put your trust in him. And remember, God is working to a plan. There's a lovely verse in the Bible. It's found in Proverbs 3, verses 5 and 6. This is what it says. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. This is a promise from God, but there's something that you must do as well. It says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. That means ask the Lord Jesus into your life. Ask the Lord Jesus to come and take control of your life. And as you do that, God will work out his plans in your life. In all your ways, acknowledge him just simply means to put God first. Ask yourself, what would God, the Lord Jesus, want me to do? What would he want me to say? How would he want me to treat that person that maybe isn't very nice to me? Those questions that Josh had to ask himself. Because remember, his father hadn't been very nice to him. But here now was Josh showing forgiveness and love towards his father. And now his father, Will, had become a Christian because of the way Josh had treated him. But you see, God was still working out his plan. Josh did get better and he went back to campus. He went back to university. Remember, he was studying to be a lawyer. But while he was there, God challenged him, and he believed that God was calling him to leave the campus, leave that college, and to go to a Bible college. And that's what he did. And while he was at the Bible college, he also spent time going around different campuses, different universities, telling as many young people as he could about the Lord Jesus and how the Lord Jesus could change their lives as well. He got a chance to go all over America, Canada, and even down into South America, a place called Argentina. And everywhere he went, he shared that God loved them and could change their lives. It wasn't always easy for Josh whenever he went on these trips. This is where Argentina is on the map. And there was one time whenever Josh was down in Argentina, and there was a group of people there, and really, we would nearly call them terrorists, but they were doing lots of harm. And they didn't want Josh coming in and preaching about the Lord Jesus and seeing people's lives changed. So what they did was they waited until Josh was walking just beneath a balcony that they were in, and they had some concrete blocks, and they lifted the concrete blocks and they wanted to hit Josh with the concrete blocks. But Josh's friends saw what was happening and pushed Josh out of the way just as the concrete blocks fell. They saved Josh's life that day. Young person, it's not always easy to be a Christian, but what the Lord Jesus does promise is, I will never leave you, I will never forsake you. I will always be there to help you in the good days and the difficult days. Josh got to travel all over the world. In fact, over the years, he got to travel into 139 countries, and he got to speak to some 46 million people. And the message was always the same. Put your trust in the Lord Jesus, and he will change your life, and that God has a plan for your life. But you see, as Josh traveled around, he found that there were some countries and there was so much poverty. In fact, there were some countries just that used to be former Soviet Union countries. These were countries that used to be part of Russia. And he found that there was lots of poverty in these countries. They're marked on the map. And he decided, I'm going to start an organization to raise money to buy food and clothes, medical supplies. And I'm going to send these supplies into these countries as well as telling them about the Lord Jesus. And that's what he did. In fact, over the years, Josh McDowell, the organization that he began, was called Operation Carelift. And over the years, Josh McDowell raised over £33 million. And he used that to buy aid, to buy supplies, to buy medicines, and to send it into these poor countries. Even school children, some children who couldn't afford to go to school, he helped them get to school, get an education, and even their school supplies, he supplied that for them as well. Look what God was doing. Through Josh McDowell, God had changed his life. And now through Josh McDowell, God was using that to change millions of people's lives all over the world, and even to help people with medicines and food and clothes. Josh McDowell is still going well today. And the mission that he started is still going strong. If you want to learn more about Josh McDowell, you can actually visit his website, and it's found at josh.org. And you can click on that and go and hear the man for yourself. But look at the wonderful story that we've heard about this man's life. What have we learned? We've learned, first of all, that God is faithful. He cares and understands, even whenever we go through difficult times. We've also learned that the Bible is true and that we can trust it. And through studying the Bible, Josh McDowell realized that God loved him, and Josh McDowell became a Christian. And lastly, that God has a plan for your life. But remember, it begins whenever you put your trust in the Lord Jesus and ask the Lord Jesus into your life. Remember, he himself said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me. Thank you for listening.